All right. Hi there, everyone. This is Dr. Allison Arnekrans, professor in the counseling program.
And Erin Arbogast, CMU Counseling Programs Operations Coordinator.
And we are coming at you today to discuss an important topic, which is the topic of professional dispositions. We hope this will help inform, clarify, and assist you in understanding the role and the process of assessing professional dispositions in our graduate program, which is required by our accreditation body, CACREP.
Dr. Arnekrans, I appreciate you taking the time to discuss the importance of professional dispositions and how our students can excel in CMU's Master of Arts in Counseling program today.
Of course, these are definitely crucial topics for our students' development as future counselors, and we aim to be transparent and helpful in that process. So where do you want to begin today?
Let's start with the basics so that we're all on the same page. Just what are professional dispositions and why are they important?
Good. Let's start with the definition. Yes. So, professional counseling dispositions are the attitudes, values, and behaviors that counselors must demonstrate to be effective and ethical practitioners. These dispositions reflect personal and professional qualities that go beyond academic knowledge and clinical skills, influencing how counselors interact with clients, their colleagues, and supervisors. More simply put, it's how a counselor shows up and carries themselves, both personally and professionally, to make sure that they are safe and supportive and they're effective at helping people.
Okay. It sounds like professional dispositions support the counselor's clinical skills and competence, right?
Right. They're kind of like the bow on top of a gift to complete the whole delivery or the overall look. So faculty assess students on these dispositions throughout their time in the program, including during several courses called gatekeeping courses. Things like cultural awareness, openness to feedback, self-awareness, and the ability to manage stress are all areas for assessment. Our goal is to ensure that students not only understand counseling theories, but they also can apply them with integrity, with empathy, in a respectful and an affirming way. Professional dispositions ensure that counselors are prepared for real-world counseling challenges, that they can build strong therapeutic relationships, they can uphold ethical and legal standards, and they can continuously grow in self-awareness and professional identity. Does that help to break it down a little bit?
Yes, thank you. I think explaining the why is helpful for many. Also, you mentioned the word gatekeeping, and some may be curious about what that means. A gatekeeping course in a counseling program is a class specifically designed to assess students' readiness for the profession by evaluating their academic knowledge, clinical skills, and professional dispositions. These courses serve as critical checkpoints to determine whether students are prepared to progress in their training or if additional support, remediation, or in some cases, dismissal from the program is necessary. In our program, we have 3 specific gatekeeping courses, which are CED 660, Techniques in Counseling, CED 690, Practicum, and CED 691, Internship. These classes, more than a passing grade, is needed to advance. Evaluations, observations, supervision, and feedback are all essential components of each of these courses. To help us understand this, Allison, can you please provide some examples of dispositions the faculty are looking for within these gatekeeping courses?
Oh, what a great question. I can definitely help out there. Common professional dispositions in counseling include things like ethical and professional behavior. So this means that the student is able to adhere to and apply the American Counseling Association, or ACA, their code of ethics. They're also maintaining integrity, confidentiality, and professional conduct. So ethical and professional behavior first. Another one is self-awareness and openness to feedback. Really important things in our profession. So an example would be that the student is able to recognize and respond to personal biases presented in the session, or maybe they're able to name or work through some of these various emotional triggers. Another important one is the student being receptive to constructive feedback via supervision or just from peers. So openness to feedback, self-awareness. 2 other ones would be cultural competency and diversity awareness. So this means that the student's able to understand and respect diverse backgrounds, identities, and worldviews in their counseling practice. They also provide and demonstrate genuine care, warmth, and concern for their client well-being, no matter what their background.
Those all make sense and are helpful. Are there any other students should be aware of?
Absolutely, yes. Another one is emotional stability and resilience. So, this means that the student is able to effectively manage their personal emotions and quote unquote stuff in order to provide a safe and supportive space for our clients. So, students often engage in their own personal counseling, in addition then to regular supervision, to assist to be able to manage everything while also being able to hold space for others. That might sound easy, but this can be very tricky for many. Additionally, effective communication and collaboration, those are huge. So these are also important in ongoing areas of assessment. An example is that students need to be able to engage in clear and respectful and professional interactions with clients, their peers, supervisors, and their faculty members at all time. One more, along with good communication, professionalism and responsibility are equally important. So things like being punctual, meeting deadlines, and maintaining appropriate boundaries with clients and colleagues are essential skills in our profession and ones that we want to see here too. So in all aspects of our program, our job as faculty and staff is to help students understand what it is like out in the field, how to prepare for that, how to respond to that, and how they can be successful in the profession. So continually assessing these professional dispositions helps us to monitor and to be responsive as needed.
Good examples, thank you. Now let's move on to how the dispositions are assessed. Can you share a little more about that process?
Absolutely, yes. So counseling graduate programs, including our CMU counseling program, assess professional dispositions in various ways throughout the counseling program to ensure students develop the qualities needed for effective practice. Our assessment process begins at the very beginning all the way back to admissions. So dispositions may be evaluated through things like the group interview, their recommendation letters, personal statements, the group discussion, and all these things in order to assess qualities like self-awareness, ethical decision-making, and just some of those general interpersonal skills. We take all of this information into consideration as we carefully discern who is admitted, as we do have a very competitive admission process overall.
The assessment process really does start at the very beginning. You mentioned, though, that assessment happens all throughout the program. It sounds like professors and supervisors observe students' behavior within classroom discussions, group projects, and clinical training settings to assess professionalism, self-awareness, and engagement. Is that accurate?
Yes. So in addition to the more informal feedback that you just talked about, formal professional disposition evaluations are also conducted by the program faculty and staff each spring, and also at other various key points in the program. And we use a rubric to rate students on their adherence to all the professional standards that we've talked about so far. Another kind of data point would be the practicum and internship evaluations, and these are also measures that assist in our evaluation process. So your site supervisors and faculty in the practicum and internship, they assess students' clinical performance, their professionalism, and their ability to integrate feedback. These evaluation forms are typically including ratings on communication, ethical decision-making, sometimes self-reflection, and also cultural competency.
There are also multiple self-assessments and reflection assignments carefully integrated into the program. Students may be required to complete journals, reflective essays, or self-evaluations to analyze their growth in professional dispositions. Students do and will also have opportunities to provide feedback on their experience in the program and with our faculty and staff as well. This assessment process goes both ways, and the feedback is actually received and often implemented.
That's great. Yes, thanks for bringing that aspect up. Another common question I get as an academic advisor is something to the effect of, oh my gosh, there are so many dispositions being measured. What if I can't meet them all? Or what happens if I do need help in a certain area? I usually respond with, you're absolutely right. And not everyone will be able to pass through all of the evaluations. That's why they're in place. That's expected and it's developmentally appropriate. So you're not going to get in trouble for that, right? To assist, we do have a formal remediation process and a plan in place to help students along the way. This remediation process is meant to be supportive as opposed to punitive, with the overall goal of getting the student back on track. We want you to be successful, and we hope students continue to hear that message. So if a student is struggling with a certain disposition, maybe defensiveness to feedback, or maybe an ethical concern, or lack of self-awareness, that's just a few examples, faculty may implement a remediation plan to provide structured support and growth opportunities. It is a collaboratively created remediation plan, though, and it's implemented using reasonable and feasible goals and objectives. We truly want and hope for students to be successful in our program, and there are a few things on our end that we can do, but certainly the student has to be open and willing as well.
That's such an important point. Thank you. And it really leads us to another critical piece of the puzzle, self-care. I know I hear about this term a lot from an administrative end, but I'm sure the students will hear about it 100 times more throughout their time in the program. It's a message continually woven throughout mentorship, advising, academics, and clinicals because it's so important. We've seen far too many quality clinicians leave the field due to burnout or compassion fatigue. Counselors, and especially counselors in training, must engage in helpful self-supports to mitigate the intensity of the counseling profession. It cannot be shared and role modeled enough, really. To assist students, we encourage them to achieve and maintain a healthy work-life balance, to develop and maintain a strong supportive network, and tune in to mindfulness. We also require personal counseling throughout the program to help students understand what it feels like to be on the other side of the chair.
So important. Self-care is definitely an essential component of this profession and is also one of the professional dispositions that we assess. The concept is often a work in progress, if you will, and for many, and it may be influenced by a variety of factors and even change throughout, the different times of our lives.
Absolutely. By embracing these dispositions and using the resources we offer, students can truly thrive in our program and in their future careers. Our goal is to graduate competent, ethical, and well-balanced counselors who are ready to make a meaningful impact.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Setting clear expectations and providing robust supports are key to our students' success. All right, I think that we've shared enough here now. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any specific questions on the topic of professional dispositions, please refer to the student handbook or consult with your assigned academic advisor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.